New tonight on Our News Live at 7, startling revelations made about the food distribution program under the Minnis administration, including thousands of dollars worth of goods that have been returned. Plus, the mother of baby Bella, back in court today, will bring you the latest from her sentencing hearing. And enough is enough at the Fishing Hole Road Causeway as one local government leader is taking work into his own hands. And then in our news at 7:30, under investigation, the police commissioner reveals more about a police officer accused of incest. Our News Live at 7 starts now. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. Day one of the 2022-2023 mid-year budget debate underway in the House of Assembly at this hour. We are following the latest developments coming out of today's session. We begin with new revelations about the National Food Distribution Task Force spilling out on the House floor today as the Prime Minister detailed how hundreds of thousands of dollars in goods were recently returned to government. And that's not all he revealed. Our Bethany McDermott, who is live outside Parliament at this hour, joins us live with the details. Bethany?
That's right, Kendino. Prime Minister Philip Davis making the revelation as he kicked off debate on the mid-year budget. Davis telling parliamentarians that one NGO associated with the National Food Distribution Task Force went on what he is calling a spending spree with money meant to be used for that program. He says recently the principal owner of that organization came and returned a substantial amount of money to the government.
Now this guy, he returned $100,000 in cash. Wow. Right, and he still got more to bring.
But there's more. Davis says the NGO brought thousands of dollars in vehicles that were also recently returned.
The same guy brought back 2 modified high-end trucks. What? Such as those used to fuel boats, jet skis, and other watercraft. Brought 2 boats. What? A speedboat and a barge.
The PM says the returns add up to $400,000. Initially planned for 12 weeks, the food program was operational for 70 weeks with $53 million in funding. Former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis saying he is unaware what the Prime Minister was talking about, but assured the proper procedure was followed.
We would have followed everything. The program was very, very essential.
But PM Davis wasn't done. He also accused the former administration of appointing a company to be the sole collector of immigration fees. However, Davis says the company was not licensed to operate as such.
The company is estimated to have collected some $6.4 million. When the government approached them asking them to forward the monies collected, they said they were holding the government revenue in order to, and I quote, expand their business.
Now, as you mentioned, Kendino, debate on the mid-year budget is still ongoing, but as for more information into the food program, the Prime Minister says he expects more findings are to come. But for now, coming to you live from Parliament Square, I'm Bethany McDermott. Sending it back to you in studio, Kendino.
All right, thanks a lot, our Bethany McDermott reporting for us live from Parliament tonight, where debate on the midterm budget continues at this hour. We've got more in a moment, but now to the opposition. As East Grand Bahama Member of Parliament Kwesi Thompson questioning reallocations to increase travel. The former state finance minister in the Minnis administration suggesting some of the changes came without consultation and suggested it's not in the best interest of taxpayers.
They increased travel by $3.9 million. That's what they do. The Office of the Prime Minister's travel has been increased by over $1 million. You have decreased health capital budget for the Grand Bahama Equity. You've decreased that. Why? By $3 million. You've decreased the program to support health sector. A program to support health sector you've decreased by $3 million.
And former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis on the defense tonight after Prime Minister Philip Davis told constituents gathered at a PLP branch meeting in the Killarney constituency last night that Dr. Minnis, who currently represents Killarney, has failed them. Dr. Minnis firing back today.
If the Prime Minister is the man that he think he is, then he should run against me in Kalani. Then the Bahamian will see one of us will have to go. Prime Minister is the last person on earth to talk about a constituency that is being neglected or failing. The records would show that his constituency is the most neglected constituency or island in the Bahamas. That is record. So he should be ashamed to make such statement.
The Prime Minister also describing current Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard as a wonderful actor who brings with him lots of drama. Pintard responding this way.
Nothing he says about the F&M is going to change people's perception of how undemocratic the PLP is. So he's looking for an opportunity to deflect from what he has been doing. The PLP absolutely hate creative Bahamians. They despise them. They believe that they're the serious ones and that writers, joncaneurs, poets, all of them, they hold a disdain. They see those persons in our community that's putting us on the international map as entertainers rather than persons with a serious worldview that can contribute to our development. So when he seeks to attack me, he's attacking an entire community he wishes to convince that they have concerns for.
Now to the sentencing for a woman who admitted to physically abusing her 4-year-old daughter before she was murdered. That sentencing has been delayed due to the birth of her third child. Estonia Walker, the mother of murdered Deonia Bella Walker, gave birth last Thursday. As a result, her sentencing has been adjourned to March 22nd. On January 16th, Walker pleaded guilty to charges of child cruelty and exposing the child to grievous harm and was remanded to await sentencing. Prosecutors say Walker and her live-in boyfriend, Darion Smith, physically abused the toddler before she died on November 5th in 2021. Bella was left in Smith's care while her mother was at work when she died. Smith pleaded guilty to her murder and was sentenced to 25 years in prison as part of a plea deal that he entered into on January 16th. Walker pleaded guilty without knowing what sentence the court will impose. All right, we've got much more to get to in a moment, but for now, it's time for your first look at temperatures. And standing by in the Weather Center is meteorologist Greg Thompson. Greg, I'm seeing 75, and I realize that the temperatures are climbing higher and higher, but the nights still feel a little bit chilly.
Yeah, we got down to 17 Celsius, 63 degrees, and because we have the lack of clouds, light winds.
Meanwhile, daytime, it's pretty hot.
In the mid-80s, actually. So, yeah, 75 degrees outside our studios right now under mostly clear skies. And once again, as we lose the clouds and the light winds, radiation and cooling sets in, we get all that heat escaping, so temperature starts to plummet. Winds out of the north at 5 miles per hour, and your feels-like temperature, very comfortable, 75. Other temperatures right now around the island, 74. Very cool 74 in Grand Bahama, Freeport, Marsh Harbor, 78, 77 in Alistown, Bimini, Great Harbor Key, and in Nicholstown, Andros. 76 in Governor's Harbor, into the central Bahamas. Temperatures also in the mid to upper 70s there. 76 in Kemps Bay. 75 Arthurstown, Cat Island, Coburn Towns in Salvador, 74, pardon me. 77 in Georgetown as well as in Deadman's Key and into the southeast Bahamas. 78 in Duncantown, Ragged Island. 76 Colonel Hill, Cricket Island. Delectable Bay, Abrahams Bay, Providenciales, all 77. And deep south, Matthewtown, Inagua, you are 79 at this hour. Nothing really in the satellite. Well, the weather picture really to talk about. That high pressure, dome of high pressure still in charge, still providing us with dry air mass and very little in terms of clouds and precipitation. That dome is going to remain with us throughout the remainder of the week. We have some high level clouds moving, but those are not going to be producing any rainfall for us throughout that period. That's your first check on weather. Stick with us. A look at the extended forecast is still to come.
Thanks, Greg. And still to come on our news, taking action on the Fishing Hole Road Causeway. And later, residents and business owners speak up and speak out about roadworks set for Gladstone Road. Plus, do you know the average lifespan of the roads in the capital? We take a closer look on the other side of the break.
It's your thing. Do what you want to do. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. It's your thing. Do what you want to do.
Shareholders are very happy.
It's your thing. Do what you wanna do.
A final written communication is being prepared for the next of kin of 33-year-old Kenise Darville, who died at Princess Margaret Hospital in January. That's according to Public Hospitals Authority Managing Director Dr. Abinat Roll. In a statement, Roll noting that PHA's commitment is to ensuring transparency and accountability in the care and services it provides. Roll says in their discussions, that is, there were no talks regarding liability. Darville died at PMH after being admitted for severe pain. She took to social media to detail her experience there. Her death prompting Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville to order an immediate investigation into her death. The PHA Managing Director says the investigation has afforded the opportunity to analyze and strengthen processes and procedures and make improvements to the delivery of care where necessary. And a new turn of events at the Fishing Hole Road Causeway in Grand Bahama as the Chief Counselor for West Grand Bahama District is stepping in. Atalia Hall has more on why he's taking matters into his own hands.
This segment of the news is brought to you by H.G. Christie. List your home in Grand Bahama with H.G. Christie. Visit our new office in the Port Lakaya Marketplace. H.G. Christie, celebrating over 100 years of service.
Enough is enough. The council decided to take a stand this morning after the complaints and the little mishap with the accident.
That's Chief Counselor for the West Grand Bahama District, George Jimmy Smith, explaining why he stepped in. Early Wednesday morning, under Smith's leadership, work crews were out making repairs to the causeway in order to reopen it to the motoring public. This move comes following complaints from drivers that the Ministry of Works is moving too slow to make repairs to the causeway, and they say the temporary surface road that was open to the public is inadequate, causing damage to cars as well as accidents.
We decided that the residents of West Grand Bahama District deserves better than this. Being able to cross on this road that's breaking up their vehicles and stuff. So we decided that today was the day that we're going to use the power of the Chief Consular Office to open up this road.
Smith also had this message for road users.
They're accusing us of driving reckless on the causeway. They're accusing us that we're speeding and we're overtaking and we're doing all matters of evil driving on this causeway. My caution to you residents of the Western District is take your time whilst driving on this causeway.
These West Grand Bahama residents also weighing in on the issue.
They closed the causeway, said we can use the service road, and they're going to repair it. How long are they going to take to repair it? All I see is a bunch of people walking around here doing nothing at all.
I don't lose 2 tires on this road, you know, and I don't think it's fair. So I think the powers that be need to do something.
Now, shortly before noon, the causeway was reopened by the Chief Counselor, which he believes is safer than the surface road at this time. He says he is prepared for any repercussions. He also had the support from 8 Mile Rock resident Van Dyke Hepburn.
I am with Jimmy, and if the police want to lock up Jimmy, let them have a big cell, because the whole of West Grand Bahama should participate in this arrest.
All right, that report there from our Atalia Hall. And back here in New Providence, members of the community sounding off on upcoming work planned for Gladstone Road. Berthany McDermott was at a town hall meeting last night and filed this report.
Stakeholders having a chance to express their concerns and asked questions as government moves full steam ahead with the Gladstone Road project. Letiro Adderley is a Southwest Ridge resident who says he's concerned about an uptick in traffic in the residential area. Meanwhile, Jubilee Gardens resident Debbie Lightburn is concerned about traffic being diverted into her neighborhood as a roundabout is being constructed near Aquinas College.
We're concerned that with the implementation of that roundabout, if traffic will be transferred into the Jubilee Gardens subdivision. If it is, we do recommend that traffic be transferred on the outskirts of the Jubilee Gardens subdivision.
Lightburn says the matter is concerning as the subdivision is home to children who walk about the community and frequent the nearby park. But they weren't the only ones concerned. New Destiny Baptist Cathedral Senior Pastor Bishop Delton Fernander also expressing concerns.
And if the roads typically are built higher than and the roadways and the parking lots for churches and other, that water would end up in those. So the wells have to be taken into consideration.
Assistant Engineer in the Ministry of Works, Dion Monroe, says that issue was taken into consideration.
So we can't please everyone. We put it in the most convenient place for everybody, right? That's going to be north of the Aquinas property. We wanted to put it nearer to Aquinas, but Aquinas didn't want to cross their property. So we are north of their property where there is a public road reservation.
Fernanda also expressing if the continued development of the area was taken into consideration, as more churches and businesses may be built in the area. The project is expected to cost up to $30 million. While Works and Utilities Minister Alfred Serra says funding hasn't been secured yet, Monroe says officials would like for work to begin on the 2-year project by the end of the year. We asked these attendees if the responses presented tonight offer them a sense of comfort moving forward.
All it is words tonight. We look that when the project starts, we will be in the community, we will be here, we will put our thoughts forth. If they're not addressed, we'll be even forceful, even more forceful.
It was very little. It was very little. It doesn't tell us what was to come. It doesn't tell us about if our concerns would be heard and they would make changes.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, thanks, Berthany. And speaking of planned works for Gladstone Road, we continue our work in progress segment this week, focusing on the pothole patching project. Here's Atalia Hall.
We have a road network of 800 miles. These 800 miles of road, they were built to very little or no standards. And a few years ago, the Bahamas government underwent several road reconstruction and improvement projects.
Senior civil engineer at the Ministry of Works, Francis Clark, explaining the newer roads in New Providence were built to an international standard with a life expectancy of 20 years or more. But when it comes to the older roads, he says the standard is very low, and that is why a lot of the roads on the island are in poor condition and requires regular maintenance.
And that regular maintenance is paving. We have a paving schedule and a matrix, and some of the roads that we cannot attend to right now, we will have to patch.
He revealed that potholes don't always appear after a rainy day.
Sometimes we also have utility companies that would do some excavation, and then they will carry out temporary patch until they can come and do a permanent patch. And a rainy event can also cause that temporary patch to fail.
And when potholes appear, he says work crews are dispatched to the area.
We place a lot of focus on the arterial roads and collector roads. And the reason why we put the focus on those is because they carry higher volumes of traffic at higher speeds.
Reporting for Work in Progress for Our News, I'm Atalia Hall.
When Our News comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as St. Lucia takes a big step, making the Caribbean Court of Justice its final court. What that means for appeals in the island nation. Plus, how the United States is working for sustainable solutions for Haiti. And how a group of police officers are going above the call of duty. Their story when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. At least 38 people have been killed after a passenger train and freight train collided in Greece in one of the country's worst rail accidents. Transport Minister Kostas Karamanlis has resigned, saying it's impossible to continue after something so tragic. He says he's taking responsibility for the failures of the Greek state, this as the local station master has been charged with manslaughter. Rescuers are continuing to search for survivors at the scene near the city of Larissa. In his first public confirmation, FBI Director Christopher Wray has said that the Bureau believes COVID-19 most likely originated in a Chinese government-controlled lab. Many scientists point out there is no evidence that it leaked from a lab, while other U.S. government agencies have drawn differing conclusions to the FBI's. The White House has said there is no consensus across the U.S. government on the origins. And the St. Lucia Parliament making Trinidad-based Caribbean Court of Justice its final and highest court, replacing the London-based Privy Council. The move on Tuesday night saw support from all 13 government legislators who were present when the vote was taken. Opposition leader Alan Chastanet, who had earlier walked out of Parliament, did not participate in the debate. Prime Minister Philip Pierre said he intends to write the British government on the move towards the CCJ. And officials from the United States Department of Defense weighing in on the Haitian crisis at a climate change presentation made by the U.S. Secretary of the Navy at the University of the Bahamas today. Our Joshua Williams was there.
The United States Navy is the latest international body to give its take on the Haitian crisis. For some time now, Haiti has suffered from widespread poverty and gang violence, which has led many to flee its shores illegally, many of whom end up in the Bahamas. Deputy Assistant Secretary for Defense for the Western Hemisphere, Daniel P. Erickson, says the United States is seeking a more sustainable solution for the crisis.
As the conversations continue to unfold, we'll see what more could be done to support Haiti over the longer term. I think people, all interested parties that want to assist Haiti want to be sure that any type of assistance is sustainable.
Erickson noted that the United Nations is aware of the security challenges in Haiti and is engaged in ongoing deliberations to help solve the matter.
We really see the core element of this effort being support for the Haitian National Police.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
Still to come in Our News, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was March 1st and the 1958 formation of the United Bahamian Party. Plus, Greg is back with your extended weather forecast. And then in Our News at 7:30, a matter of words. The Prime Minister says he misspoke when he revealed government deficit figures in the House last week. His clarification coming up when Our News continues. Welcome back to Our News. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was March 1st. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 1958, the United Bahamian Party, UBP, was officially formed. The party published its platform, seen here, in the Nassau Guardian. The Bahamas Historical Society notes the party was created in response to the formation of the Progressive Liberal Party in 1953, while also securing a 6-seat win in the 1956 general election. UBP membership consisted of mainly white, wealthy businessmen of Nassau known as the Bay Street Boys. The leader of the party was Roland Simonet, who became the colony's first premier. Fast forward to this day in 2017, then Prime Minister Perry Christie said he regretted flipping his middle finger during a PLP branch meeting in Fox Hill days before. Despite constant attacks against him and his family, he told Parliament during a brief address that if he could relive the moment, he would not have made the controversial move. And finally, on this day in 2021, while in opposition, PLP MP for South Andros and Mangrove Key, Picewell Forbes, bid farewell to frontline politics, saying he would not seek re-election. At the time, Forbes said he decided to walk away after he failed to receive the proper support from the leadership of the PLP. Well, every Wednesday, officers from the Southern Division assemble in the early morning hours to prepare and distribute breakfast for those living in the community. Our Sasha Lightbourne spoke with several officers who organized the weekly event.
When you think about police officers, you generally think about them fighting crime, and there may even be some negativity that comes along with that. But these officers want to do more than just fight crime. They want to reach the community, one adult and one child at a time, with the most important meal of the day. The program involves feeding breakfast every Wednesday at the Kwaku Street Police Station. Officer in charge of the Southern Division, Chief Superintendent Antonio Monroe, explains that as a young boy from Hatchet Bay, Eleuthera, he went to school many days without food.
I remember on many days, no breakfast, no lunch. So when I came to the Southern Division in July last year, doing the walkabout, you tend to have an appreciation of what's going on in the division. And I thought it fitting that even though we are a police station, some things that we can do. This is mandated by our commissioner. If you look at his priorities, the first priority speaks to community policing. And we thought it best that we do these kind of initiatives to assist the young people.
And leading the charge is Manager of Community Policing for the Southern Division, Inspector Freddie Lightbourne, who says the meal goes beyond just feeding people.
Born and raised in Montalites, seeing the effect that poverty had on people, we thought that and I personally think that it's important that we do what we can to help others. But this is more than just serving food. This is building relationships. You would see some of the interactions that we would have with members of the public, from kids all the way up to adults. This builds rapport, this builds trust, and people would be more comfortable mentioning things to you that they would not mention otherwise.
And then there's resident chef, woman police corporal Yvonne Adderley, who cooks the meals every week.
We do grits, tuna, corned beef, and sausages every Wednesday. Yes, the cost of living is high, but sometimes you got to nip it in the butt and, go overboard with it. And it's very important to me to know that I could be able to help someone when they go on the way to school and help those who don't have it.
And while no one wished to speak on camera with us, everyone who came while we were there were grateful for the warm meal, adults and children included. Reporting for Our News, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
All right, thanks so much for that story, Sasha. And if you want to watch it again and for all of today's top stories, remember you can visit ournews.bs. That's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is our Talia Hall with the latest headlines. Talia, I don't know if you saw that package there from Sasha, but what a great story. Wonderful effort, right?
It is.
Great to see the police in a very different light, very relatable and again, helping the community.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's good. Keep it up. I like it, yeah. Well, our coverage of the 2022-2023 mid-year budget debate continues, and the latest on some high-profile police investigations.
Whether you're battling a chronic condition or offsetting a new injury, Doctors Hospital's comprehensive rehab services offer the help you need now. Go to doctors. 3 advanced facilities at Collins Avenue, Carmichael Road, and Cable Beach means your personalized plan for care is just a visit away. From physiotherapy to occupational therapy and speech and language pathology, our team approach is all about rebuilding together. For a full list of services, visit doctorshosp.com/rehabilitation. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now. Isn't your health worth it?
A matter of words. First tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. The Prime Minister tries to set the record straight, claiming he misspoke during his mid-year budget communication last week. And we take a look at how some MPs handle the March 1st disclosure deadline.
From ongoing murder investigations to threats of death against the Prime Minister, the Commissioner of Police giving an update on a number of outstanding matters. Those details straight ahead on Our News.
And later, we'll tell you just how many jobs the Labor on the Blocks initiative has helped to fill. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
Day one of the 2022-2023 mid-year budget debate, now in the history books. Welcome to Our News, and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. Prime Minister Philip Davis telling Parliament he misspoke during his budget communication last week when he said government deficit increased by $7.8 million. Last week, Davis said the government saw a net deficit of $285.7 million. However, in Parliament today, Davis said the deficit decreased by $5.3 million. Now, East Grand Bahama MP Kwesi Thompson informing Parliament that figures in the stories published last week came from the Prime Minister.
The numbers speak for themselves, and everyone will see that was a misspeak by the writers, and that's why I made it a point to correct it this way. What I said today is correct.
The Prime Minister says during the first half of this fiscal year, the primary balance reflected a surplus reflecting $4.9 million. He says government has reoccurring primary deficits each year. As for the current deficit,
the deficit totals $276 million for the first 6 months of this fiscal year. Compared to $281.3 million in the prior year.
Today is the deadline for parliamentarians to publicly disclose their finances. And while over the years several have failed to meet that deadline, some of those we spoke to today say they've already completed that process. Jamila Mizik reports.
March 1st is the deadline for parliamentarians to disclose their finances by submitting their declarations of assets and liabilities. Our news spoke to several MPs heading into this morning's House of Assembly session who say they've already filed. One of them was St. Anne's MP Adrian White.
I've disclosed, yeah. Typical Bahamian. I did it the last minute yesterday, but I did it. It's all in order. It's in place. I'm proud of doing it. This is my second year doing it. It seems like a very simple task for many people, but until you've adjusted to filing it on an annual basis, it can be a little tricky because you have to get supporting documents from a number of places.
While she says she's disclosed before the deadline, an MP Pia Glover is suggesting an adjustment to the filing process.
Of course, we have a lot going on a daily basis. Not that should preempt us from our obligations, but it would be so much easier if the forms were digitized. As everything, nowadays, even with banking, it's digitized, and that would make it much easier.
And Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper is sharing similar sentiments.
The system is archaic. I don't know whether the process has been reformed over the last 50 years. So that's what I'd like to see. I support public disclosure. I think it's important, and I think it helps with transparency and accountability. My filing will be done before the end of the day.
However, White says he sees nothing wrong with the current filing system.
That doesn't make a difference to me. However, it's going to be done. So long as it gets done, that's fine.
Now, according to the Public Disclosure Act, any person who does not comply with the law is liable to a fine, imprisonment, or both. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
All right, thanks, Jamila. While the Commissioner of Police updating the media on a number of outstanding crimes that have grabbed headlines, Megan Shepard picked up the story from here.
Prime Minister Philip Davis heightening his security in recent weeks following death threats on 2 separate occasions. Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernander giving this update as it relates to the 2 men he says are assisting with investigations.
There was 2 different matters. The first matter you're referring to, yes, we had a 58-year-old man in custody. He was questioned and released pending. That matter is still very much active. The second matter, we have a 20-year-old who is presently before the court.
He says the 58-year-old man is still a suspect.
We are just dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Also making headlines recently, ongoing protests about illegal migration. The Commissioner of Police says this is not a matter to be taken into the hands of civilians.
We don't want nobody to go into these shanty times to preach the law or to violate the law, because we will be there to ensure that it does not happen.
As it relates to the Jerome Avenue massacre that killed 6 people on April 15th, 2021.
Just a few weeks ago, I met with the family and updated them to see if any new information that they had to share, and we provided them and informed them where we were at with the investigators. That is still much alive. We had people in and out, and we are continuing to build our evidence.
Now, statistics have also revealed that many victims were on bail for alleged crimes. The commissioner says he is hopeful that legislation is on the way.
We will wish, and we continue to say, we will wish that they remain behind bars and their matters move swiftly before the court to avoid them getting bail. Move swiftly before the court, swift justice, and that's what we are crying for.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
More from the commissioner on the issue of murder topping his list of priorities in a moment, but now to this. A police officer is in custody at the Criminal Investigations Department over allegations of incest. That corporal will be hauled before the magistrate court tomorrow. The commissioner of police was asked if he believes this incident tarnishes the reputation of the police force.
He is responsible for his own action. Yes, we have an active investigation that is going on, and we continue to say if it's within, we will weed out the bad apples out, and we have done just that. And yes, there's an active investigation going on where our police officers is presently in custody. Just was notified by the investigators after consultation with our DPP office. They have recommended a charge, and he will be charged sometime today and will appear before the court tomorrow, is court's willing. I don't wish to go into the investigation because he will be charged today.
The 31-year-old woman accused of the murder of Cable Bahamas executive Marcus Hinsby was today committed to stand trial in the Supreme Court. Felicia Bonamy, who is on bail, will be arraigned before Senior Justice Bernard Turner on July 7th. Now, police went to Hinsby's condominium at the Veneto Gated Community in West Ridge Estates around 5 p.m. on September 24, 2022 to conduct a welfare check after he failed to show up at work. Hinsby, a 58-year-old British national, was employed as a technical accounts manager at Cable Bahamas. Police officers met the condo locked. After they were let in by the property manager, the officers found Hinsby dead with multiple stab wounds. While Grand Bahama police are investigating a shooting that occurred in downtown Freeport yesterday, police say it was around 2 p.m. when a 38-year-old man was walking downtown when he was approached by a white right-hand Toyota with 3 men inside. One of the car's passengers opened fire, but the pedestrian was able to escape without injuries. Now investigations are continuing. Curbing overall crime is the focus of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, but Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernandez says murder is topping the list of priorities. Last March, a record 22 murders was reported in a single month. Fernandez says those numbers will not be tolerated.
While our overall crime numbers indicate a decrease in crime, we are still challenged with murder cases, which increased in 2022.
The top cop says the force will be heightening their presence throughout various communities, and he shares the key 6 priorities of the force.
Revolutionizing community policing product to prevent crime. 2, zero tolerance approach to major and minor crimes. 3, restructure internal processes to impact crime prevention. 4, partner with law enforcement counterparts to expand policing capacity. 5, proactive approach to youth and gangs. 6, optimize technology in crime prevention and police operations.
Beautiful sunny skies to welcome the first day of March. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center live with a first look at weather tonight. Good evening, Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Natalia. It is a beautiful time to start March with lots of sunshine. Stagnant high pressure remains in charge, but our temperatures at night are falling off rather nicely. 72 degrees outside right now, and mostly clear skies. The winds out of the north-northeast at 6 miles per hour, and your feels like temperature also at 72. Once again, nothing really to talk about. High pressure in charge. Very few clouds today, lots of sunshine, but as the evening comes on and we lose the clouds and the heating, we are losing the radiation, we're losing radiation and cooling, and temperatures will be falling off for the rest of the evening. That's your first check on weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, the search continues for a 17-year-old boy who escaped the Simpson Penn School for Boys, and some good news for motorists on Grand Bahama with the reopening of the Fishing Hole Road. And labor on the blocks is claiming success with the number of job placements it has helped residents to secure. We'll tell you more when our news continues. Police are still searching for a 17-year-old boy who escaped from the Simpson Penn Center for Boys a few weeks ago. The Adelaide Village resident escaped between February 19th and February 20th. The center has experienced several escapes in recent years. One of the biggest occurred back in October 2018 when 13 boys escaped. Social Services Minister Obi Wilchcombe says this calls for more security measures at the facility.
Yes, we're bringing more security on. We are strengthening the facility, working directly with the Ministry of National Security. Yes, we do know. I mean, based upon the investigation of the police, they have told us how he was able to escape.
This segment of the news is brought to you by H.G. Christie. List your home in Grand Bahama with H.G. Christie. Visit our new office in the Port Lacaya Marketplace. H.G. Christie, celebrating over 100 years of service.
The Fishing Hole Road Causeway in Grand Bahama is now open to the motoring public. The initiative was taken by Chief Counselor for the West Grand Bahama District, George Jimmy Smith. Now, you may remember for months now, road users have been complaining about the state of the causeway and service road following multiple car accidents. Work crews were out early this morning making repairs to the causeway in order to reopen it to the motoring public. The causeway was opened shortly before noon, which Smith believes is a safer option. He also says he is prepared for any repercussions that may come following his decision, and adds that it's too much back and forth, and enough is enough.
We're now cleaning the road, we're blowing it to make sure that all the gravels are gone, but we want to send a clear message to the West Grand Bahama District residents. Take your time on this road. If it's raining, you know what you have to do. While it's clear, still take your time on this road. Don't allow them to say because we're driving recklessly, that's why we're having these incidents on the causeway. West Grand Bahama District, we are better than this. We are great people and we have great power. And today, the West Grand Bahama District is putting forward that power that we have.
Meanwhile, officials from the Ministry of Works in a statement today said that work on the causeway will begin on Monday, March 6. The contract for the repairs has been awarded to Bahamas Hot Mix Company Limited. According to the statement, Bahamas Hot Mix was chosen as the preferred contractor at this time due to their responsiveness and ability to mobilize immediately, having the available resources to execute the works within the required time frame. Now, the expected duration of the work is anticipated to be 4 to 5 weeks. The paving of the bridge surface is expected to be complete in 2 to 3 weeks, and then the surface road will be repaired. Members of the Bahamas General Workers Union employed at the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute standing in solidarity today against the signing of an industrial agreement between the two parties. The members allege that the agreement has not been discussed with them.
Negotiations have been going on apparently where none have sat at that table. That is not supposed to happen. We know that in this country, and that of course with a government such as the one that is present today, we believe in not only negotiations that are peaceful, but that includes and considers all. And these members have not been considered. And so we stand here against that signing.
Now, lead negotiator for the Bahamas General Workers Union, Obi Ferguson, responding to those in protest today. Ferguson says it is the policy of the Trade Union Congress to meet with all of the workers prior to an industrial agreement signing.
The membership ratified the agreement. You cannot make people to come to a meeting, man, if they don't want to come. It is the duty of the union, though, and the union circulated the notice to all of its members. So if I decide not to come here today, how are you going to make me come? But to say that, that's not fair. That's not an accurate position. And that's the reason why we're here to sign. We done sign it, and we will honor it because we did everything.
Now, for more details on today's industrial agreement signing, be sure to tune in to our news Weekend Edition. The Department of Labor reporting that thousands of individuals have been employed since May 2022. And as a result of its job and labor fair efforts in New Providence and the Family Islands, a number of job fairs under the Labor on the Blocks 2.0 initiative have been held around the country, with the latest being held in January of this year. Labor Director Robert Farquharson says he's pleased with the outlook so far.
I can say definitely, though, however, since Labor on the Blocks 2.0 started in May of last year, we have estimated that we have employed over 3,000 Bahamians and finding jobs for them. We have held job fairs in New Providence, Grand Bahama, Abaco, and Eleuthera. And we are confident that over the past few months we have employed in excess of 3,000 Bahamians as a result of the Labor on the Blocks 2.0 initiative.
Farquharson also providing details for jobs available on the islands of Abaco and Eleuthera, where hundreds of workers are needed.
When we had the job fair in Abaco, our team from Grand Bahama and Abaco, two or three major companies, they hired over 200 people in Abaco as a result of the job fair. In addition to that, we have a number of construction companies in Abaco which are actively seeking Bahamians in the construction industry to come to Abaco to work. In addition to that, the island of Eleuthera, the Disney project on the island of Eleuthera, they need 200 people in the operational side of the development and over 100 people in the construction field.
When our news comes back from the break, Greg is back with your extended weather forecast. But first,
coming up in sports for tonight, the defending Hugh Campbell champions, a hero's welcome as they make their return to Grand Bahama. We'll also tell you how the Mingos pull off a big upset in local night league action, and of course, the latest from Buddy Hield and the Indiana Pacers. That's all coming up in sports.
This is our news. Welcome back. A hero's welcome for the Hugh Campbell champions as they return to Grand Bahama. Meanwhile, the UB Mingos pull off a big upset in local basketball. Here's Marcellus Hall with a check on sports.
All right, thanks, Natalia. Welcome to our sports on a Wednesday, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. The Hugh Campbell champions, the Sunland Baptist Stingers, making their return to Grand Bahama after successfully defending their championship. What do you know? A hero's welcome in hand. Let's take a quick look at how it went down. A hero's welcome for the defending Hugh Campbell basketball champions, Sunland Baptist Stingers. They returned home to Grand Bahama yesterday after claiming the Hugh Campbell basketball championship at the Kendall Arts Gymnasium on Monday night. Team again receiving all the glory and well-deserved. Two-time defending champions getting it done in a good battle against the C.I. Gibson Rattlers, a game they won by double digits at the end. Afterwards, coach and some of the players talking about how good it felt to get it done.
You know, such a momentous occasion for them. You know, basketball is something that the school is known for.
Our key plan was to execute, rebound, less turnovers, and just be together as a team.
I was so excited because, you know, at the beginning we started off a little rocky, but they came together as a team and they just played to the best of their abilities and they did what they went there to do, which is bring back the title.
This is my last year, so like to end the year off with a bang and to close out my school career with a good win was amazing.
And speaking of getting it done, the UB Mingos pulling off a big win just recently against the second-ranked team in the New Providence Basketball Association. Nobody saw this one coming. A big upset for the Mingos as they outlast the Sand Dollar squad by a total score 68-58. Big upset. Again, as we mentioned, UB start to turn things around as the season progresses.
Game plan was to come out defensively with a lot of communication, you know, talking with intensity, especially, you know, coming from an international trip. We look forward to, you know, the experience we learn over there.
Buddy Hield and the Indiana Pacers up against the Dallas Mavericks in yesterday's action. Mavericks heavily favored coming in, but Pacers riding a 30-plus night point evening from Tyrese Halliburton, and they steal the win by a basket, 124-122. As you mentioned, Halliburton had 32 points. But we want to care about our boy Buddy Hield He did it all right. 27 minutes, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. He did what he had to do. Most importantly, the Pacers do get the victory. And that is your look at sports here on this Hump Day Wednesday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Italia.
And don't go away just yet. What kind of weather can we expect over the next few days? Greg is back in the Weather Center right after this quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back to our news. Temperatures may rise a little higher over the next week. Greg is back in the Weather Center with your extended weather outlook. Greg?
Yeah, for the remainder of the week, we expect temperatures to be near the mid-80s, possibly even getting into the upper 80s. But the high-pressure system is going to control our weather for the next several days, keeping us mostly dry, mostly hot, unseasonably hot. But the pressure gradient is expected to tighten by Friday, so we're looking at some breezy conditions, which could take the edge of the temperatures by the weekend. There is a frontal boundary, a system that's taking shape across the central portion of the United States that should get near sometime by Sunday, but we don't expect much in terms of any real rainfall with that. Just a slight decrease in the temperatures once that frontal boundary goes through us. Quiet across us in the future forecast, nothing happening out there. Most of the activities out in the open Atlantic, a couple of spotty showers, but here comes that front, as I said, should get here by Sunday time frame. If you plan on doing any boatings for the northwest Bahamas, southeast to south winds 10 to 15 knot seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Your low tide will be at 9:41 tonight for the southeast and central Bahamas. Easterly winds to southeast 15 knots, seas running 3 to 5 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your 7-day planner, quiet weather through Saturday. Frontal boundary gets in here by Sunday. Couple isolated showers, but once that front goes through, temperatures could take a little bit of a dip for early next week. That's a look at our weather. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Greg. Sounds great. And with that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.